Then, if the funds are now provided, I keep saying it, by the National Assembly, because the funds are not provided by the National Assembly, there is not much he can do. If they provide funds that are limited, he would only work with what is there. Remember, Architect Onoleme lamented so much about the funds he had in Ministry of Works. Wow. He said he could have done the Ore end to Lagos end if the funds were there. At least from what he did from Benin to Ore, we see it today, there is no pothole. So if the funds are there, they can now act on it. So that is also going to be an inhibition on the ministers if they don't have the funds.
All right, gentlemen, we have to round up. Okay, but let's look at the area of job creation and work and labor.
Okay.
There've been employment scams all over the place. There've been very few jobs for very many unemployed people, 5,000 for unemployed people. That can be put out if there are jobs created. Yeah. So let's look at that. Let me begin with you, and then we'll go around that so that we can round up real quick.
Okay, let me...
Please don't summarize the past.
No, I will, but I need to tie up some things. Yeah. Because he spoke about housing. Housing is potentially a mass creator of employment. Yeah. But I want to see a Fashola coming in to address the issue of mortgage financing. You see, today, the so-called middle class, you can't access loans to build a house. It's the desire of every young man working to build a house. If you create...
Or to own a house.
To own a house. Now, if you create a mechanism through which they can access loans, what we'll be doing is actually to stimulate demand for cement, for sand, for Masonic labor, for all classes of labor. You can imagine the spin-off it will have on the economy. That's one area. Agriculture is a mass employer of labor too. But young people will never go to the farms on these old tools of hoes and harrows and cutlasses. You need to set up tractor hiring units for them. And for me, I've looked at it very closely. No matter how much the federal government's, how big the size of the federal government budget is, it will never avail given the control of the problems are there. So you must create room for the private sector to come in to bridge these gaps. And that's why the issue of mortgage financing, the last administration came up with this beautiful idea. I was somewhere in Oka when Mrs. Okonjo-Iweala was talking about that particular issue
mortgage refinancing
of mortgage financing. I'm surprised that it didn't see the light of day.
No, it did. It started.
But on a very modest. But I think this administration would do well to drive it. To drive it more forcefully. So because it's a very important initiative, and then look at the roads. That's one area you can create thousands of jobs. In the good old days, we used to have public works department. How many local governments in Nigeria today do we have? So many. You can get young people without giving them 5,000. Deploy them to patch these potholes across the local governments. These roads, federal or local or states, run through local governments and places. Get those boys to go and do it and pay them the minimum wage. Now, they'll be adding value to the economy and they'll be stimulating the local economies. I think those are quick fixes. Those are what I call the low-hanging fruits that you can actually go into without having to create this culture of dependency, of handouts, that every month you want to give somebody 5,000. Yes, for the extremely vulnerable group, you can give them, but for now, I think we can begin with those. You can imagine the number of jobs that can be created. Just asking young people, for instance, those ones living along the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, you can generate on that road alone, you can generate almost 1,000 jobs. Getting them to stand by, create what I call work gangs. Their job is that every morning they go there. If there's any potholes, you are going to hold responsible, and they will feel this sense of ownership, the sense of being able to actually add value, to create wealth themselves. I think it will help. So if you are looking at highly technical jobs, those ones won't come very easy. To take time to create, but there are low-hanging fruits you can tap into to generate mass jobs for Nigerians.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
Let's look at the labor laws.
Yeah.
And even after the jobs have been created, what about the labor laws? Because the Nigerian worker seems to be the one that's most oppressed, underpaid, overworked.
And then there have been intra and inter, professional wranglings.
You see, the way I look at it is a little different, and I will not want to talk about what I'm not versed in. One of the things that we've made so far is being able to see a Nigerian see work as a duty, as a right. I don't know how to put it. You see, an average worker, I run a private firm and I have many staff. What is their right is their salary. The work is actually seen as a distraction. Why somebody is working on the iPad, doing Facebooking and everything. And you're like, why are you doing this? This time is supposed to be for work. His rights, his entitlement is a salary at the end of the month. But there are some countries that have good work ethics. They know that the money is for something. That something is the hours of work they must put in. So I think whatever it is, the Minister of Labor should not just think in terms of giving jobs to the people, but being able to bring us back to the mentality where you know that you are being paid for what you are doing. People wanting to work and earn a living. The political system is making nonsense of this handout that my brother was referring to, because the political system gives you everything for doing next to nothing. That's why an average young person wants to be PA or SA, SA to P or PA to SA and things like that. He does. And I offered a boy a job and he asked me how much. He's just a graduate. I said 50,000. He just looked at me. He sort of followed me because I once ran a political office. He just looked at me and smiled and said something to another boy. I noticed. Then I called the other boy later. He said, what? He said, okay, it's 50,000. If I go honorable place, you give me 5,000. I'll go now 10,000. This 50,000, I'll get it in 3 days. Then I'll come to your office and sit down from morning till night, work for 30 days. Then you give me 50,000. Okay, I can't work. And we may laugh at it, but that's honest. How many people are thinking in terms of reorientating their minds to do an honest work and get a commensurate honest pay? So Mr. President has a big responsibility through the Minister of Labor and Productivity
and employment now.
Okay.
Or employment, yes, to work on the psyche of the young people, and they also have to review the remuneration packages because some of them.
Now, quickly, Mr. Okolubo, I want you to talk about the Minister of Justice. What you think he should do with all of this issue of corrupt judges? You have justice being delayed, justice being denied. Quickly, please.
Well, what Malami must actually do is, being an SAN and somebody who has so much experience, he must be very honest in that field, because we have seen where we have had attorney generals in the past and the ministers of justice, and they were not honest with the dispensation of justice. He must be able to look at issues dispassionately, especially like what you said, the issue of corrupt judges. We know that that is one area that has not helped in the dispensation of law, so to say, or the rights of the people. We must be able to tackle. We must commend the president. He's so eager about getting it right in terms of corruption, and so maybe that's why he has put a very trusted aide in as his Attorney General and Commissioner of Justice. Those cases, the real corruption cases, must be charged to court. We must see real conviction. We must not see cases that are frivolous, cases that are only used because of political reasons, cases that are being charged to court because they want to whip the person into line. We must see cases that you come with facts before the court of law. And I like the ACJ, the new Administration of Criminal Justice system that the former president signed into law, that says there should be no stay of proceedings and there should be no frivolous injunctions and adjournment. This must really be laid bare. I'm happy there's a new chairman for EFCC, Ibrahim Mangu, who everybody knows is a no-nonsense person. And I think the president has given him the wherewithal, because he has brought in a new face into the EFCC, and the ICPC person is there. He must be able to work hand in hand with them to be able to check corruption, because whether we like it or not, if we can actually check corruption, like what my brother Oni here said, the overinvoiced contracts, the overinflated contracts, the 10 naira that should have been used turning to only 1 naira, will be able to make a headway. And that's
all right. Thank you, gentlemen. You give us your closing statements in 10 seconds. I know my producer will shoot me for saying this, so I'll come back to you. 10 seconds, your closing statement.
Well, the truth about it is that we already have the ministers, and our hope and desire is that they should be able to make an impact and let us have the needed
Thank you.
change.
10 seconds up.
Again, what I look forward to in this administration is, at the end of the day, they want Nigerians expect them to be able to deliver value for every kobo that is spent of public money.
Thank you.
Key to employment, housing. Let Governor, Minister Fashola just listen to 1, 2, 3 of these people on housing, and I know that he'll do well. I wish him well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sonyoni, editorial page editor of the Nation newspaper. Thank you for coming. Ken Okolugbo, the former commissioner, Delta State Oil Producing Area Development Commission. Thank you for coming.
It's my pleasure.
And architect Ezekiel Nyaituk, social commentator. Thank you
Senior
for coming.
citizen.
Senior citizen.
He likes housing. He likes housing. You should add
He's
housing.
an architect.
You should have added housing.
Well, thank you, gentlemen.
He's passionate
Sunrise.
about it.
Sunrise will be back in a moment. Please don't go away.